All right, in this video, we are going to consider the graphs of tangent and cotangent and secant and cosecant, and we're going to try to match each of these functions with their graphs. Now, we really need to rewrite these equations in the proper form. This is like having 1/3 x, and we need to factor that 1/3 out. So if I take that 1/3 outside of the parentheses, then I will have x plus. Now to figure out what goes next, I need to do pi over 4 divided by 1/3. I'll just do that off to the side. So if I have pi over 4 divided by 1/3, you multiply by the reciprocal. So that would be 3 pi over 4. All right. Which means that the phase shift should be left 3 pi over 4. Okay, so this should be left 3 pi over 4. All right, got to leave myself a little room. All right, I'll just write left next to it. So that's going to be the same thing on this one. Just keep in mind that this should be 1/3 x plus 3 pi over 4. So that should also be left 3 pi over 4. Similarly, this one down here, I need to pull that 2 out. As I pull that 2 out, I need to divide by 2. When you divide a fraction by a number, you can just put the number in the denominator. So this should be minus pi over 8, which is to the right. All right, so we're looking for a shift that's pi over 8 to the right on that one. And obviously that's the same thing going on here. Okay, so the cosecant function. If we remember that cosecant is the reciprocal of the sine function. So if I want to see what the cosecant function is going to look like, all right, if I want to do the reciprocal of the sine function, because that's cosecant, then what I need to do is understand that any time that the sine is 0, I should have an asymptote. So I see that sine is 0 here, here, and here. Okay, so there should be an asymptote here, and an asymptote here, and an asymptote here for the cosecant function. Okay? Now, if there's a phase shift, then this first position, all right, this first asymptote should be at the phase shift. All right, so this is not necessarily going to be 0. If there's a phase shift, then this will be at the phase shift, and I'll just put PS for phase shift. Also, the cosecant function approaches the asymptotes here, so it should go like this. All right, and it should go like this. So if it's going to be a cosecant function, I'm looking for these curves that are heading away from the midline in both directions, and I should be finding an asymptote at the period. At the phase shift. There should be an asymptote, and then I should have these curves going away. All right, so that's what I'm going to look for as I switch to the other screen. Is there an asymptote at the phase shift? And do I have these curves going away? Okay. So 3 pi over 4. Well, first of all, only 2 of these graphs have these branches that are curving away from the midline. And that's graph B and graph C. So one of these 2 have to be my cosecant function. All right, it can't be either of these ones that are just continuously going through. All right, that'll be my tangent and cotangent. So it's just a matter of which one of these represents the cosecant function. Now let's take one more look back at the equation. Well, the phase shift is right here, but be careful, you have to reverse the sign when you're looking for the phase shift. So we're looking for a phase shift of left 3 pi over 4, in other words negative 3 pi over 4. Okay, negative 3 pi over 4. You know that 3/4 is 0.75, right? It's like 75%. So we're looking for a vertical asymptote at the phase shift, a vertical asymptote at negative 3/4 pi. Now, looking at graph B, if this is 4 pi, that means this is 2 pi, and this is 1 pi. Alright, that means over here, this is going to be negative pi, and this is negative 2 pi, and so on. Okay, so bottom line is we have positive and negative pi, just half of a space to the left or to the right. Now, we need a vertical asymptote at the phase shift for a cosecant function. Okay, there should be a vertical asymptote right at the phase shift. But the phase shift is negative 3/4 of a pi. That would be right about here where this dot is. There should be a vertical asymptote right here. And there isn't one. So that means that B cannot be the cosecant function. Let's look at C instead. Alright, we know that cosecant has a vertical asymptote right at the phase shift. So again, here's positive pi, here's negative pi over here. Alright, so right about here would be negative 3/4 of a pi. So there should be a vertical asymptote here if this is the cosecant. And oh look! There it is! It's right there like magic. There is a vertical asymptote there. So it looks like C is the answer to number 44. It looks like C is a graph of cosecant, which means that B has to be the answer for secant. Now tangent and cotangent are easier. When you graph tangent and cotangent, alright, it's going to be the other two. It's got to be one of these two. Tangent is always increasing, whereas cotangent is always decreasing. So you know right away that A must be tangent because from left to right, this is increasing. So this must be the tangent. Alright, so I will label this A. And this one, from left to right, it is decreasing. So this one must be the cotangent.